Starting next Friday, a 30% U.S. tariff on South African exports officially kicks in, with President Donald Trump himself giving the green light for customs and border security to start enforcing the change. So what does that mean for local businesses trying to crack or keep a foothold in the U.S. market, and what considerations should they make when it comes to the tax implications? Here's Ntokozo Khumalo, who will clear all that up for us. She's joining us in studio for that update. Ntokozo, good afternoon. Thank you very much for your time.
Good afternoon.
It's still tax season, I believe. So are business owners bracing themselves for what is about to happen? What does it really mean? I mean, I read that in 2024, some 11 to 12 billion US dollars would have been accumulated on that particular export market. And of that, only 36% didn't carry a tariff.
Yeah.
So others look at that and say, well, the exposure is quite minimal.
Yeah. Well, it's how you look at that exposure, Thabo, and I spent the day really trying to figure out the different angles of the implications. And it's the trickle effect more than the immediate tax implication, because what it means is businesses who do export to those markets might rejig their production and how much output they put out there, which may then lead to higher prices and which may lead to them selling less than they would generally.
Right.
So that impact being something that is over a long term. So if you remember, Saab governor in the May interest rate announcements, he did say they put in that scenario for that 30% tariff increase and what it would mean. It would mean higher input costs. It also is about where they source those products, because where they source that product might also have other duties on them that then compounds the cost. So there is no immediate tax implication. I did speak to the South African Institute of Taxation to ask that, because businesses are still in the process of filing their taxes after personal filing took place from July. So they did say there is no immediate implications, but there are some considerations for businesses to consider. Let's take a look.
The fact that the U.S. has now slapped South Africa with a 30% tariff now means that the prices of goods and products are going to be more expensive. From a tax filing season perspective, this has no immediate impact. Therefore, taxpayers are reminded of their obligations to file their tax returns by the relevant dates, being the 30th of October for individuals and then the 19th of January 2026 for non-provisional taxpayers that did not opt in to be auto-assessed, as well as for trusts. So that'll be the 19th of January 2026. What taxpayers should be mindful of is that now that the prices of goods and products will change, this means that related party transactions might be affected. This would be relevant in terms of transfer pricing, Section 31 of the Act. So taxpayers who engage with their related parties and purchase products from them should be mindful of the tariffs and the impacts and the price changes, so that their transactions are still considered to be arm's length, meaning that the prices of the goods or product, notwithstanding the increase in tariffs, is still that would have been charged between them and a relevant non-connected third party. So transfer pricing is the only way that might trip you up or that you need to be mindful of, but from a filing season perspective, there are no immediate impacts.
And despite, of course, tirelessly trying to negotiate, making a number of concessions, it emerged quite evidently that we are not getting a reviewed tariff package as a country, South Africa, even though President Cyril Ramaphosa says they are still going to continue with the negotiations. However, the DTI has now issued a package of support of some sort, which includes a desk at the export, which I suppose is going to help those who are exporting understand the tax tables and everything else that comes with it. But it is something that at a later stage is certainly going to even begin to show up in the collections.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we don't know what that package is yet out of the presidency and DTIC. They did say it would be announced in due course. And when it comes to that desk, Thabo, the one thing I'm looking for real clarity on is it really a new launch? Because that desk has always been around. But I think what they're saying is that they have armed it with more personnel and experts to deal specifically with this issue. So it's not necessarily a new support desk. It's just, I suppose, given more capacity to deal with some of the issues. And I suppose where economists and analysts would be interested in hearing from the presidency is what this package package entails. Is it enough to save jobs? Is it enough to allow exporters to continue business and explore other export markets at the same time? So remember, the industries that are involved are major employers: automotive, citrus, as well as poultry industry that has sort of been put in the back burner when it comes to negotiating some of these deals. And someone I spoke to earlier, Thabo, actually raised an interesting question. Don't know if you remember President Trump's first term in 2016 as he was campaigning. He revived the America First policy, which then analysts say should have actually been when South Africa starts to think about how it engages with the US. And that was, what, almost 10 years ago now. So it is now an issue of, with this package, will it do enough, quickly enough, to avoid us really, backtracking in terms of growth? The Reserve Bank already saying the 30% tariff would shave off 0.6% of growth. We're already looking at 1% or under for the 2025 year. So let's listen to what a trade expert had to say around tax collections for next year, and something the Revenue Service will probably be looking at closely as well.
Potentially less revenue collected from individuals, many might lose their jobs. So if we go back to the citrus and table grapes, there's a lot of labor in those spaces. These are people in the Northern Cape and the rural parts of the Western Cape where it's not that easy to get another job. So there'll be a high social cost if this can't be resolved. And of course, from a SARS perspective, yes, they potentially will be collecting less individual and corporate income tax.
Now, my interest, of course, at this particular point, yes, the negotiations are still going to continue. The deadline is shifted slightly to next week, which is really immaterial. But the concessions that we would have put in our proposal to the United States, do those still stand?
Well, they would stand if they actually renegotiate the deal, because them standing was on the basis of us then negotiating a lower tariff than that 30%. And we've really been struggling to get some of those answers from the DTIC of, now that we're here, what does the plan that you've put on the table actually mean? Remember, the first plan was rejected for lack of ambition. Yes. This one seems to just have been blue-ticked altogether. So it wouldn't stand in that regard, because then the tariffs are still imposed. The whole point of the plan is to really renegotiate those tariffs and get in lower tariffs. And remember, there's also the potential of another 10% tariff for BRICS countries. So perhaps in combination of the two, if they are able to get back on the negotiation table, then those may still stand. But currently with the 30%, then it sort of wipes out the trade deal that we were trying, or the DTIC was trying to put forward to its US counterparts. So it is a start from scratch unless we can restart the conversation afresh.
What's clear is that, of course, that major tensions exist between this relationship, which is a cause for concern, but also a call for an absolute reset.